Okay, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Gatewood? Here. Councilmember Sander? Absent. Councilmember McGarvey?
Here.
Vice Mayor Budge?
Here.
Mayor Terry?
Here. Item 2, will the clerk please read the television announcement?
The meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse. The meeting is closed captioned and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will air Saturday, September 9th at noon and Sunday, September 10th at 11 a.m. on Channel 14. A DVD copy is available for checkout from any library branch. A copy can be ordered from the City Clerk's Department, and a webcast of this meeting will also be available on the city's website within 48 hours of adjournment of this meeting.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to our Pledge of Allegiance, which tonight will be led by Miss Angel Ball from our VINs. And then I'd ask the audience to remain standing for our invocation that tonight will be by Father Chuck Kelly from St. John Vianney Catholic Church.
This comes from Psalm 90. Teach us to number our days aright, Lord, that we may gain wisdom of heart. Let your work be seen by your servants and your glory by their children. And may the gracious care of the Lord our God be ours. Prosper the work of our hands. Prosper the work of our hands. Lord, we recognize that all work on earth is done under your watchful care and guidance. May all discussion on this council be conducted with charity and respect. May our decisions be in accordance with your teachings and thus pleasing to you. Help us to always see ourselves as servant leaders, never concerned for personal gain, but always concerned with what is best for our city and its people. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father. So we have an agendized item, open session, and report out from closed session. We did not have a closed session, so there's nothing to report. So with that, we'll move on to presentations. And item 6.1 is Community Enhancement Fund grant check presentations from Stacy Delaney.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, and guests. My name is Stacy Delaney, and I'm the Community Enhancement Analyst for the city. This evening, ceremonial checks will be presented to several organizations that were approved for funding through the city's Community Enhancement Fund. These projects and programs support local Rancho Cordova priorities, including education, youth, the arts, sports, and more. Mayor and council members, please come down and join these groups as they receive their checks. The first check being presented this evening is for the Volunteers and Neighborhood Service, also known as VINS, to operate a beautification awards program known as Kudos Plus. 50 homes will be selected by VINS to receive an award. The Rancho Cordova Good Neighbor Guide will be used to help select the home where residents show pride in the maintenance of the front of their home. Angel Ball and many of the other members of VINS are accepting the check tonight for $3,200. Right.
We give a much larger checks to like 2 people. Oh, wait, come on. Who's back there? Me. It's a big check. The cost that's
The second check is for the Rancho Cordova Homeless Assistance Resource Team, also known as Rancho Cordova Heart, to provide services to the homeless in Rancho Cordova by continuing to host and organize a winter shelter in our city. The shelter will be open 70 days during the winter with a capacity for 30 persons per night. Pam Bradley is accepting the check for $12,000. The third check this evening is for the National Teen Leadership Program to conduct its programs for teens in Rancho Cordova. The program provides opportunities for Rancho Cordova youth to gain leadership skills which will promote civic engagement and encourage Rancho Cordova youth to become involved in enhancing the quality of life in our city. Jennifer Lopez and Ashley Cook are accepting the check for $21,140.
I know, that's why. Gotta take it back.
The fourth check is for the Art of Yoga Project to provide an expanded yoga and creative arts program for teens attending Mitchell Middle School. The goals of the program are for students to gain self-awareness, self-respect, and self-control so they can make better choices for themselves and to provide practical tools to help them affect change. Christina Martin is accepting the check for $25,900. Thank you. The fifth check is for the Sacramento Children's Museum's Van Gogh program. This grant funding will help to expand the curriculum and activities which are available to teachers for use in the classroom and to provide an expanded outreach program that makes available education specialists and play facilitators for classroom visits. Sharon Stone Smith and Alan Godlove are accepting the check for $26,000. And last but not least, the last check of the evening is for the Cordova Lancers Leaders and Legends, also known as CL3, to continue the existing year-round Mentors at Cordova High School program with the goal of maintaining between 75 and 125 participants at any given time. The program works with youth in Rancho Cordova to help them improve academic performance and attendance, gain skills to overcome challenges, and engage in community service projects. Conrad Mayer and many of his team are here accepting the check for $60,000.
I'm just a floating head. Getting close.
Congratulations, guys.
This concludes tonight's check presentations.
Stacy.
That's right.
So our next item here is item 6.2, and it's unique in a community to have 4 different school districts and then a separate community college district. It's even more unique when two of those superintendents are new this year, and we have a new president of our community college. But what's even more unique is that we could get all three of them to show up to one meeting within the first month of school starting, which I think is, as a former school board member, to get my superintendent to be in the same room as some of the other ones at the same time is like trying to get Clark Kent and Superman in the same room at the same time. So tonight we do have our two new superintendents. We have Jorge Aguilar from Sac City Unified is here, who represents or manages AM Win, well, schools that are in our city are AM Win, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington Carver, then also obviously Rosemont High and Albert Einstein serve our community as well. And then we also have Sarah Kuligian. Am I saying that? Kuligian? Okay. I know Sarah. That's what I've called her. And she's our new superintendent at Folsom Lake, at Folsom Cordova Unified School District. And then we have Whitney Yamamura, who is our new president at Folsom Lake College, including running our Rancho Cordova Center here, which is also a very large point of pride for us with our new Promise program that we launched this year. And we had 148 students that started this fall. So we're really, really excited to have all three of you here. I'd like to welcome you to the podium, and if you wanted to just briefly speak for a few minutes, and then what we'll do is take a 10-minute recess. We have some cheese and some refreshments and some desserts out in the lobby for everybody to enjoy and to get to meet these nice folks. So, oh, and I'm sorry, I've been reminded we're supposed to take a picture. So at recess, if we could have the superintendents and the president stay up here for a couple of minutes to take a couple of photos. But Sarah, if you'd like to start.
Sure. I was nominated to go first of my colleagues here. And I first of all want to thank our city council in Rancho Cordova, Mayor Terry, to our city council members, to our community. Thank you for this welcome and an opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Sarah Kaligian, and I'm new to the area, but not new to education. This is my 30th year in education, actually the third district in which I've been a superintendent, but I come from the Central Valley. My roots are deep there. Families have been very involved in agriculture over the years, but did all my undergrad, postgrad, and doctorate at Fresno State. And when I saw this position open in Folsom, Cordova, I thought, oh my goodness, this is a wonderful district to be part of. And my husband and I, who are parents of 4 children, a daughter-in-law, and a grandbaby, are empty nesters now. So it really gave us some motivation to also look outside of the Central Valley. So we're very happy that we have landed here. And I want to thank Rancho Cordova for all your support. I'm looking at our Lancers Leadership and Legends program, one example of many that you have supported our students. And we really can't do it alone. We really need the support of our community. And our obligation back to our community is that we are raising students that are college and career ready. That is one of many goals in our district, starting as early as when we get them in kindergarten and as they matriculate through each grade level, that we're preparing them for their futures and to be contributing citizens back to our community and to be successful in whatever direction they choose in their lives. But we need to do it in partnership with our chambers, with our business community, and with each one of you, and we appreciate the support. Just a little bit about our vision in our district this year. I've charged my team with basically 3 parts of our vision, and it's the first part is being in an educational field, that we adopt a growth mindset, that we're willing to stretch ourselves and become learners ourselves. I consider myself the lead learner of our organization. Our learning should never end, and it's up to me and my team to model that for everyone else in our district, all 2,000 of our employees. The second is we are a customer service business. Our customers are our children, and they are the most precious resource we have, and we are charged with supporting one another, being interdependent on one another as we, take on the role of educating our future. So my second part of the vision is that we rely on one another as a team, that we not work in silos as we support that growth mindset. And third, and most importantly, is we're going to look at how we have touched the lives of our children every single day. reflect back on at least one child that we have assisted in our organization and celebrate that. Each one needs our assistance, but sometimes we don't take that time to reflect, and it's important that we do so. So again, that we adopt a growth mindset, that we are interdependent on one another, and that we are reflecting at the end of every day of the work that we've done to support our students. And again, we cannot do it without you. We thank you for your support. Thank you for the welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Koligian. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor Terry and City Council members. Thank you as well for welcoming us to this community. I am happy to be here. I'll be here for a few minutes. You may be aware that we do have a principalship opening at Einstein Middle School, and today is our community forum, so I'm going to be joining members of our team as well as our residents in that area to hear directly from them about the qualities and characteristics that they're looking for the new principal at Einstein Middle School as well. Like Superintendent Koligian, I also grew up in the Central Valley. Grew up in a small community called Parlier, California. My parents are immigrants from Mexico, farm workers. My dad still farms about 20 acres in Kingsburg, California. Spent most of my career at UC Merced and Fresno Unified School District before taking on this position. And I've got to tell you that it has been just humbling to see how welcoming this community has been to me and to my family and our 4 children who have all enrolled in Sac City schools. I have a teenager who's in high school and 3 younger children who are enrolled at Caleb Greenwood. Our home is very close to that particular school site. In terms of the work that we've set out to do, it will be captured in a guiding principle that states very emphatically that our task is to give every student an equal opportunity to graduate with the greatest number of post-secondary choices from the widest array of options. In that regard, Sacramento is very special in that it is surrounded by institutions of higher learning that represent all the segments of the California Master Plan for Higher Education. I was just at Sac State a few minutes ago meeting with President Nelson, as well as Congresswoman Matsui and Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, but have had the opportunity to work very closely with the new chancellor at UC Davis, Chancellor May. I have some colleagues from UC Merced that are now at UOP in the private colleges and university sector, and of course have spent some time talking and interacting with Chancellor Brian King, as well as several of the presidents, including our new president here. So all of us, in fact, are very new, and when we welcome each other back because we all started sometime in July. But I want to thank the city of Rancho Cordova for this welcome and for your gesture, which is much appreciated by me and my family. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Superintendent.
I'm Whitney Yamamura, Folsom Lakes College third president. Again, I thank Mary Terry and the members of the council for this very kind reception. I've been my 7th week, so I'm new, but I'm old. I've been in higher education now for 28 years, all within the Los Rios district. I started out teaching economics at American River College and was a dean there. Went on to become vice president at Cosumnes River College, interim president at Cosumnes River College, interim president at Sacramento City College, and then at Folsom Lake College. So I like to say I saved the best for last among the 4 colleges. I'm just so grateful and very fortunate to inherit, excuse me, a strong relationship between Folsom Lake College and the city of Rancho Cordova. As the mayor mentioned, in our scheme for serving the communities, we built out our own land and building in Rancho Cordova, in the Rancho Cordova Center, thanks to the taxpayers, and we hope to expand that at some point. Again, depending on future bonds and what the governor has in store for us, I would really want to build a second building to expand our service to the community. Again, with the leadership of the City Council and Folsom Lake, we have the Rancho Cordova Promise, which is the first in the region. And we're very proud to support the high school students matriculating to a community college. And I hope we can turn some of the Lancers in the room into Falcons. That's what we want to do. In terms of a vision, we're still in the initial stages of developing because I'm on the listening tour with the constituencies at El Dorado Center, Rancho Cordova Center. In fact, I'm coming in a few days to listen to the faculty, staff, and the community, and the main campus. But what I see is a need for more career education programs to work closely with economic development organizations in the regions to help bring jobs here and have that virtuous circle to be able to have and make available workers that we train for high-skilled jobs, and then by doing so, attract more industry to the area. And so, again, I welcome Rancho Cordova as partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And as I kind of started, and again, my background before I was on the city council, I was a member of the Sacramento City School Board. And so the dynamics between each of these school districts is so different. And to have a community where we literally, and we actually have 4 school districts there. There's a tiny sliver of San Juan, but I don't think there's a lot of kids in that little tiny sliver that we got in the mobile home park. But we do have 4 plus our partners at Folsom Lake College. But we as a council and I would say as a community are absolutely committed to success for our students in education, whether that's college or career. And I think there's no better statement than what we did around our Promise program. And while West Sacramento started at the same time, we committed a year before, and then that's why Folsom Lake College did a lot of the legwork that helped out Sac City College and getting it going. So we're really looking forward to working with you. I know we've made some great progress in working with the school districts in the last few years with our education forum that hopefully we can get going here in the not too distant future. But with that, I don't know if council has any other comments. If not, we can break for a recess. So we'll take some quick photos, and then everyone can enjoy some refreshments outside, and we'll reconvene in about 10 minutes. Okay.
And we played them in the 6th grade in Massachusetts.
So with that, we will call this meeting back to order. And, I've got my city clerk over there who I'm going to need for this next part. I was supposed to call on you for the superintendent. I'm sorry about that. Okay. It is. Well, thank you, everybody, and we thank our superintendents and new president for joining us here tonight. So next we'll move on to public comment. Citizens wishing to address the council for any matter on the consent agenda or not on the agenda may do so at this time by completing and submitting a speaker card to the city clerk, who is to my right. For items on the agenda, speakers will be called up to the podium by the mayor at the point on the agenda when the item will be heard. Speakers are encouraged to keep their comments to 3 minutes or less and state the name and community of residence. Their name and community of residence. Under the provisions of the California Government Code, the City Council is prohibited from discussing or taking immediate action on any item not on the agenda unless it can be demonstrated to be of an emergency nature or the need to take immediate action arose after the posting of the agenda. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, we do. The first speaker is Carol Limbaga, followed by Linda Doctor.
Thank you.
Hello, Council. I am Carol Limbaugh, resident of Rancho Cordova, and I want to say that this is the part 3 of the ongoing update of our homeless situation that I call homeless versus bums, hobos, and criminals. We have a homeless person complete with overflowing possessions in a cart, including a little dog, staying for a long time inside one of our McDonald's. When we drive along Folsom Boulevard, many of our bums are seen hanging around the entryways of various businesses, smoking and talking. Is this indifference, arrogance, just no cares, or a subtle property takeover? It discourages me from walking up and through these folks to enter. If business managers or patrons say anything and something starts up, the commotion might cause customers to leave or, at worst, talk. Nowadays, no one can afford any of this. What must these workers, managers, or even owners think? I bet they are afraid to keep calling the police. We could wait for Sac City and Sac County to come along with a big program. We see and hear on Channel 14 on their live meetings and the Sacramento Bee with all their publishing, lots of money is coming. But we all know those programs are generally only funded for a limited amount of time. And after that, what? Then they want to raise taxes in order to continue it, or the program is gone. Can't our police drive around and go in, notice this, and ask them to move along? Aren't they loitering? Again, programs last only so long as they are funded. We need to create our own program or policy. We need a long-term city policy, not just backed up with tickets, but our city standards of civility. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think you'll be quite surprised, or quite pleased to hear that we'll be talking about this subject very soon.
I don't know how this
So you'll call the next name?
Okay, Linda Doctor, hi.
There you go.
I'm a resident, 32 years here, and I pretty much agree with Carol, but I have a couple extra things to throw in there. At Alstrom Park, years ago, there was a ton of bushes in the back, and the city park cut them all down because the homeless were camping back there. And they did not return for several years, and now they're back. And you know, I worked in Folsom, and there was a homeless fellow at our business, and the cops picked him up. And I said, "What are you going to do with him?" "Oh, well, guess what?" He said, "I'm going to take him to Rancho." And he wasn't joking. Now, and I'm not suggesting we pick him up and take him back to Folsom, but I mean, seriously, we are a dumping ground. And it's just gotten, I've been here 32 years, and it's gotten worse and worse. And they camp out down at the corner behind the store. They get ran off, and then they're back a week later because they just moved their camps. I know it's a big issue, but you know, it's so frustrating, and a lot of cars have been broken into lately. They beg for money when I go into the stores. It's uncomfortable. Well, you know, I'm not afraid of them. I just tell them, don't have it. And, but you know, it seems to me that Folsom does a better job than we're doing. I know you're doing a great job on the river. I know that. And you have help to get them off of the river. But we need to also get them out of my neighborhood, you know, and all the rest of them. So that's all I got. Anyway, thank you for listening.
Thank you. Any more? Okay. So with that, we'll move on to item 8 and our city council reports. Start from left to right. Councilman Gatewood.
So the air show was amazing, really entertaining to go there and see how much, and actually see the president's plane fly over. And so that was fun, and I really like how the air show is growing and becoming just such an integral part. So I'm glad that the city council members that are up here were able to create it. The most important thing that I would like to bring up is I sit on something called the Cable Commission, which I just got put on. It turns out that Comcast Cable has decided to not negotiate with the schools, and thereby will be turning off the fiber that is plugged into all the schools. What this means is everywhere that we paid, Rancho Cordova actually opened a bond and paid for cable to be ran to our schools, will now no longer be given to us at the discounted rate that Comcast had agreed upon, with the caveat that they were going to continue the contract. And so I was in a commission where they decided to introduce this to us and threaten us not to bring it up to all the citizens. So I will be eventually rallying all the citizens to go down there and have a nice chat about how we paid millions of dollars to have cable ran, They've negated on their contracts to finish installing this dark fiber, which just fancy word for meaning private fiber that they give to schools and educations. And they're going to now charge all the schools. So if you're thinking our school right now, we pay very minimal costs and it turns up and turns down, you're thinking 300,000 to 400,000, which I don't think our school has a spare 300 to 400,000. And that's not just us, that's Elk Grove Unified, Sac City Unified, and all the schools. And so I was appalled to hear that one of our partners was willing to try to do that to gouge the schools. So someone that's willing to say they're a partner but yet go after our schools for money is not a partner. So I'll be talking about that later. Thank you.
Bob?
Well, want to see what a wonderful air show we had. We were able to come to one of the planes I haven't been close to before was a U-2, and that was really interesting, the size of it and everything. My grandkids came to the show and they were able to see a lot of the things. I know that one they had laid out from Aerojet, they really got involved in that, and I was really glad about that. Something's going on that I'm really glad about. Two, it looks like we're going to get the money we need for phase 2 of the Mather Veterans Village, and I'm waiting till the end of this month to see if we don't get the tax credits we need for $13 million. But that will allow us to start doing phase 3 of the other 50 apartments. So phase 2 is that 2-story building, and we're looking forward to getting going on that in the next 6 to 8 months. And it looks like that's been given to us. The Veterans Resource Center of America has been awarded a Veterans Housing and Homeless Prevention Round of $2.5 million. With that award, we'll be able to start on phase 2. So we're, knock on wood, looking forward to getting the money and the tax credits so we can get going on this and finish it. It's great with the 50 apartments we have, but we need more. And we got it there. It's not like one of those things that nothing started yet. When you already have 50 of the 100 apartments done, then you want to finish. So, and I'm also looking forward to getting some information from the VA hospital about the property, because when they finish that purchase from the county, they're supposed to set aside 1.5 to 2 acres so they can put in a Fisher House. That's a hotel for the veterans' families. It's like Ronald McDonald. It won't cost them anything to stay there while their veteran is being taken care of there in the VA hospital. So we're working on that also. So very busy, a lot of things going on. Thanks.
Thank you. Linda?
So like everybody else, I was absolutely thrilled and delighted and awed and everything at the air show. What's really cool about it is the 3,600 tickets that we distributed to kids who go to school in Rancho Cordova. They had a return on investment rate of almost 45%. Almost 45% of those tickets were returned, and anytime you can get a 45% return on investment, that is a huge benefit. And so we're really pleased that all those little kids were able to come to the air show, visit the Aerojet experience, visit all the aircraft, and just have a great time and think about what kind of things they'd like to do when they grow up. At Regional Transit, we heard an awful lot at our last meeting. Their financial performance is up. The cool thing is the transit agents that they hired have done a tremendous job in creating people who are in curtailing the amount of fare evasion that was going on. And the funny thing is, apparently they caught the writer for the Sacramento Bee doing something that he wasn't supposed to be doing, or he was on the train without a ticket or something like that, and he deserved it, and he owned up to it, and sure enough, he took his ticket and paid it with good grace. So it happens to the best of them. Regional Transit is starting a new marketing awareness campaign. It will be called A Part of Life, PART, And every ad you see, every tagline will have some reference to the fact that regional transit can be a part of everyday life. And then another one of these staff reports that I have for Albert has to do with our Public Works Director, has to do with interesting sources of funding for regional transit, which are not the normal kinds of things that any of us think about. So I've brought that back for Albert so that he can investigate that kind of thing. Several of us went to the grand opening of another new business here in Rancho Cordova. It's down by the new Rayleigh's. It's called Evergreen Nutrition. It is definitely the new wave of store. It has a perfectly beautiful wooden appearing floor that may be tile or it may be environmental bamboo or something, but this is definitely a place that you might want to check out for healthcare products, skincare products, just a whole host of things in the personal care division. I substituted for David. David's been traveling for some time, and I substituted for him at SACOG last week. And the most interesting thing was a workshop on regional planning and economic prosperity. And it talked about all of the linkages that we have. And it's the kind of thing that the three superintendents just talked about, the fact that we need them all to know what kinds of jobs are available in Rancho Cordova for the people who are getting certificates from either Folsom Lake College or our private colleges. And then there was some information in the paper the other day about the fact that people who come out of school programs with a certificate in welding can go down to Siemens and work on all the new rail cars that are being built down there. So it's another opportunity for the chamber and their organization called Explore Rancho Cordova, and we want to maximize those opportunities. On Friday night, I went to another of the annual Filipino events that they hold at St. John Vianney. This is the Filipino American Apostolate of St. John Vianney. Saw Father Kelly, who gave our invocation earlier. This one is in honor of San Lorenzo Ruiz de Manila. And I actually have a daughter-in-law who is from the Philippines, so it was really fun to join her and her parents and then watch my grandkids perform in some of the dances and some of the events. And I've brought programs for archives. And then on Sunday, I went to the Open Studios event that was held all over the county. This is where artists open their studio, and some studios are in galleries, some studios are in people's homes. And as we know, because of the Community Council and all of our art exhibits here at City Hall, we have several artists here in Rancho Cordova. And so I visited the studio of the lady who did the beautiful mural out at the VA hospital, and then and has done a variety of other things. She will also do, you can commission her to do a mural, a glass and ceramic mural of your doggy or your cat for pets, and she would love to do that. And then the last thing, in terms of veterans, we've had a wonderful lady named Evelyn Figueroa who has been running the Veterans Connect at the Library Center at the Rancho Cordova Library, and she's just retired to stay home and take care of grandkids. But the library is working very hard. The program will continue, and the library administration is working to find a lady who is as talented and as committed as Evelyn to keeping that program going. The numbers of veterans they have served on a monthly basis is absolutely phenomenal. It's like over 1,000 veterans each month. And the library is planning special events focused on the Ken Burns, Lynn Novick film that's being shown on PBS again. So, last night it started. It's on tonight. There's 10 different episodes shown on 8 different nights. And I know there are a lot of people in this room who are interested in that particular era because we all lived it. So assuming we get out in time, we'll all be home to watch the Vietnam program again tonight.
Well, I'll go fast then after hearing that. I think I'll echo what everyone said about the air show. I think it was a great year. Even without the big jet teams, the other things like that. I think the commitment to heritage and having the heritage competition this year, I think was really exciting. Those who don't know that, those vintage planes used to be at Reno every year. And then they went silent for a year. They didn't have the competition last year, and then they brought it here, which I thought was really cool. And get to see an A-10 fly, I don't know. I'm just a nerd, but to me, that's like the coolest stinking airplane in the world. But that's back to my G.I. Joe days of watching cartoons. But great job again. The only thing I'm going to ask is please next year pick a different day than Thursday morning to do the Inspire the Future event, or just check and see when the air district meetings are, because I'd love to go next time. But thanks everyone else for making time to be there. I know the kids are really stoked about seeing the Black Hawk and everything else, and I know it was a great time had by everybody. So great job to Maria and Ashley and everybody else that worked so hard to pull off that, and then also to support us over the weekend and making sure that we had talking points and knew where the heck we needed to be. Also want to thank Lorianne and Stefan, who I don't think are here tonight, for all of their hard work. We just finished up our Bloomberg Mayor's Challenge workshop today. We had a consultant come in from the Bloomberg Philanthropies to help us with our idea accelerators, and we spent 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock today over in the American River Room talking about what idea we want to submit. And now we've got about 35 days to figure it out and submit our idea to possibly win $5 million. And so 100 mayors across the U.S. got one of these idea accelerator workshops, and we were lucky to be one of them. So the first 100 mayors that signed up at the U.S. Conference of Mayors got this workshop. And so ours was today. West Sax is tomorrow. So I say game on to my good friend Christopher Cabaldon, because we know we always have better ideas than them. Had a great time spending some time at the League of California Cities last week, including voting on Friday for a couple of resolutions. Luckily, the attempt to pull something from the consent agenda failed, and we got out on time. So that was great. Evergreen Beauty and Nutrition, again, another great city service to add to our community. If you haven't been there, please check it out. I think it's really great. And what was really awesome, and Lynn, I'm sorry if you had already said it, but they are 17-year residents of Rancho Cordova. The gal that runs it's a husband and wife, and the wife is running the store. Her husband works for Intel. They've been doing this kind of product service from their home. They decided to open up a store, and it's a really great place to. And honestly, it's a really great complement to Raley's and its smaller footprint that doesn't carry all of the products imaginable that you'd have at some of the larger grocery stores. So it really is complementary, because there's a lot of things that they have that are not at Raley's that sometimes might be in a Whole Foods or a Sac Food Co-op, if you think of it that way, that a lot of the products that you would see in those types of stores are in this store, in the same shopping center. So it's really, I think, a great complement to the other services that have been there. Like I said, I went to the League of California Cities, which means I missed Ryan Lufbro talking, so I was hoping one of you might mention about that. But I do want to thank Ryan and whoever had the wisdom to invite him, because all of my friends that I thought, it was Diane, was this your idea? That's awesome. So Ryan and I had the pleasure of chairing the last 2 Cap to Cap committees with Ryan for the community resources team for Cap to Cap. And I know how hard he works, and we've learned a lot from him over the last few years in broadening our scope and our understanding of homelessness and what is really the cutting edge services that are most effective in addressing homelessness. So I just wanted to say thank you to Shelley and Diane for having the wisdom to invite him, because I think that's a great opportunity for this community to learn what's going on regionally in in addressing homelessness in a more thoughtful and scientific and purposeful way.
We should probably also point out that he has a significant role in the upcoming study mission to Austin, where we'll be learning all of the good advice that they have on how to deal with homeless issues.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, he's doing great work, and I just think it's nice, the evolution I think that we've had here in the last couple of years about our approach to being more effective in addressing homelessness. And so it's really great to have that also permeate into some of our other organizations in the city. And so with that, we'll move on to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be very brief. Last Thursday, I attended the meeting of the Board of Directors for the Greater Sacramento Economic Council. A lot of discussions at the board meeting related to Amazon's request for the second headquarters, and Greater GSAC is taking the lead in coordinating a response to their RFP. We have been asked to participate in the process, and we have and our Director of Economic Development, Kurt Haven, would be serving on the selection committee along with some of his colleagues from other cities in the region. So we have a very robust program. This is a fairly short timeline to respond to the request, and there are some issues at the state level that we probably have limited influence. But to the extent that we can sell the region and identify opportunity sites and locations throughout our region, this is what we would be working together. But this is a collaboration between all the cities in this area, in this region, and also the private sector. So a lot of work, and we do have a relatively short fuse on it. We need to respond to this request by mid-October. So with that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for all of your time and the rest of the staff's time. That this is our third workshop. I don't think we're going to end up having another one, but it was the third time we've met to discuss this idea. And so with that, we will move on to consent calendar items, and consent calendar items consist of matters deemed routine and non-controversial by staff. Unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item for individual consideration, all items will be approved by one motion. Are we going to need to pull 10.3 to clarify, or just clarify it now?
I think you can just clarify it,
Okay.
Adam.
So there was a typo in item 10.3 where it reads $480,000. That item should read $500,000 even. So with that, and I believe we do need to pull, I'm sorry, Bob, you had something to pull.
Pull 10.4.
Okay, so we'll pull 10.4. Anything else to pull?
Seeing none, I'll move approval of consent calendar items 10.1 through 10.3.
I'll second that.
Okay, so I have a motion by Budge, a second by McGarvey for items 10.1 through 10.3. 10.3. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Gatewood?
Aye.
Councilmember Sander is absent. Councilmember McGarvey?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Budge?
Yes.
Mayor Terry?
Aye. Item carries. Okay, item 10.4 is approval of council member appointments to regional boards, commissions, and committees. Bob, you have something specific on this?
Just one correction on the representing the city and the Folsom Lake College Foundation Board. We have Cyrus on that. My name should be there also. I've been doing that for quite a long time. I was on that before they built the 3 stages, rather, excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll continue on that. I want to help get the second building built on our Folsom Lake College campus.
So my only question now that I'm thinking about it, are we entitled to 2, or is Bob on there and then Cyrus, were you the appointment, or how did that work?
Yeah, I have to probably ask the foundation, because I think the idea has been that members rotate in and rotate out. So maybe the way we present it as either Bob or myself being one of the alternate members of serving on that board.
Okay.
But
We should have asked Whitney when he was here.
I need to have that clarification.
Yeah, the only thing I'm thinking is, Bob, are you just on there because you're a member of the community, or you are appointee? Because we may not be entitled to 2 seats, so making the second appointment may not be something. So maybe we can pass this as is and then get that clarification and bring this back if we need to update it. Would you be comfortable with that? Because I don't know if we're entitled to 2 seats is the problem. So without knowing that.
I'm not sure about that. I know there's a breakfast coming up on Friday. I'll be going to that.
Okay.
So it's,
So maybe at that time, we could get that clarification, and then if we need to change the appointment, then we can just do it at the next meeting. Would that be okay?
okay.
Okay. So with that, do I have a motion to approve item 10.4?
I move approval of item 10.4.
So I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Budge, second by McGarvey. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Gatewood?
Aye.
Councilmember Sander is absent. Councilmember McGarvey?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Budge?
Yes.
Mayor Terry?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, moving on to 11, so consent public hearing items. Consent public hearing items consists of matters deemed routine and non-controversial by staff. Unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item for individual consideration, all items will be approved by one motion. Do you have anything that needs to be pulled from the consent public hearing calendar? I think we only have one thing.
Open the public hearing.
You're right, thank you. So I'll open the public hearing. Do we have any public comment cards on?
No.
Anything needing to be pulled?
No.
Okay, close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
I will move approval of item 11.1.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion by Budge, a second by Gatewood. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Gatewood?
Aye.
Councilmember Sander is absent. Councilmember McGarvey?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Budge?
Yes.
Mayor Terry?
Aye.
And the vote carries unanimously.
I was going to say that, but that's fine. Okay, moving on to items 12, public hearing items. And our first public hearing is introduction, first reading of ordinance amending titles 6 and 23 of the Rancho Cordova Municipal Code relating to personal cannabis cultivation. Who's starting?
Thank you,
City
Mayor.
Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council and community. The item before council is one of the actions and topics that we are bringing back to you in response to wholesale changes that were made to the state's marijuana laws last year. This particular item relates to just the issue of personal cannabis cultivation. This emphatically is not the broader conversation that the city may have and that communities around the state are having about what commercial activities to allow with respect to cannabis. And the item that we will be presenting and discussing with you is really, in fact, just an evolution, making relatively minor changes to an existing law that the city's had on the books for a number of years that's worked quite well. And I'm pleased to turn the item over to Carrie Simpson and Denise Bizzano, who have worked together on this at some length.
Can I, before, just to clarify for council, because again, like the city attorney mentioned, this is going to be specific to a very narrow set of items tonight to focus on, but that October 2nd, we will be coming back for a broader workshop discussion on, following up to our last workshop on cannabis and growing and retail and the not. So that is not tonight's discussion.
That is not tonight's discussion.
Whoever wants to start.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Denise Bizzano, City Attorney's Office. So,
Is your mic on?
You need to press your green button.
It's on.
There you go.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Denise Bizzano, City Attorney's Office. As Mr. Lindgren mentioned, this item is primarily meant to bring the city up to speed with the current regulations of the state and the industry as it relates to personal cannabis cultivation. So just briefly giving you a history and background as to how we are here tonight. Proposition 64 passed by the voters of California in November 2016. It's also, Proposition 64 is also known as the Adult Use of Marijuana Act. It allowed, among other things, up to personal cultivation of 6 plants to be cultivated by persons 21 years or older for non-medical purposes. This summer, the governor signed Trailer Bill June 27, 2017. It was attached to his budget. It is entitled the Medicinal and Adult Use Cannabis Regulation Safety Act, also known as, I don't even know how to pronounce the acronym. I say MAUCURSA, but others have said it differently. But the bill provides a unified regulatory system for commercial and personal cannabis use. So it combines both the AUMA with a previous piece of legislation called MCRSA, MCRSA, which stands for Medical Cannabis Regulation and Safety Act. So it combines those two pieces of regulation to provide a unified regulatory system for cannabis. The MAUCURSA applies to both medical and non-medical cannabis, and it permits a local jurisdiction to reasonably regulate. And it's not clear what reasonable regulations are, but we will try to enforce what we have, but also add regulations as the city deems necessary for the cultivation of 6 plants in a private residence or on the grounds of a private residence. And it also allows a local jurisdiction to prohibit outdoor cultivation, but there is a provision in MAUCURSA that says if the federal government allows cannabis at any point, then local jurisdictions will not be able to prohibit outdoor cultivation any longer.
That's for the future if the federal government changes it, but so far it hasn't been changed.
Correct. At this point, the federal government still prohibits marijuana as a controlled substance. But there, like I said, there is that one little provision. It was in the AUMA and it's also in MAUCURSA that says if the federal government overturns its ban on marijuana, then local jurisdictions will not be able to prohibit outdoor cultivation. Now I'll turn it over to Carrie Simpson.
Thank you. So just briefly, we'll go over what our current ordinance says, and our current ordinance would include both Chapter 6.9 of the Municipal Code and the land table found in Chapter 23-310-1 of the, also known as the zoning code. So currently, a person who is 18 years old or who requires medical marijuana can grow medical marijuana. They also must have a patient or the primary caregiver reside at the home where the marijuana is cultivated. We also have a requirement currently that our tenants must get permission of their property owner for any rental property. And the current ordinance requires the chief of police to issue a permit. I will say, up to date, we haven't had any permits issued through this section of the ordinance. And then also, if you had done any electrical or building alterations to your home, you would need to get permits. And outdoor cultivation is prohibited, as we mentioned earlier. So that's currently what we have in our municipal code. We are, as part of the highlight of our current ordinance, we would love to continue to prohibit outdoor cultivation. Removes the permit requirement, so there would be no permit if you had 6 or fewer plants from the chief of police, as it's allowed by right. Any indoor cultivation cannot exceed the 6 plants. And currently, we're requesting that the cultivation can be done by someone 18 years of age if it's for medical marijuana, or an adult who is over 21 years of age if it's for recreational marijuana. And then tenants must get the permission of their landlord. We're actually going to require that they get a notarized approval from their landlord if it's in a rental. So we are also asking that we allow only cultivation inside a private residence or within a legal structure, and we would ask that that be a locked structure, must be enclosed by a 6-foot solid fence, cannot be accessed by minors. There should be no use of gas products, CO2, butane. If those of you remember, we had a major we had a major issue at one of our large complexes where we had a explosion related to butane gas. So we're hoping that we're asking that we do not allow butane to be allowed. There should be no exterior evidence of the cultivation from the public right-of-way. And it must be in a properly ventilated building. Any modifications would still require any type of building permits. And we are asking for strengthened penalties for violations and requesting that we can abate plants in excess of the 6 allowed under certain circumstances. And Denise will talk to that in just a few moments. So currently, we have wonderful cooperation between Rancho Cordova Police Department and Code Enforcement. This is to give you kind of a brief overview of what we're seeing out there in the field. In 2016 and 17, we had 23 noted municipal code violations related to illegal cultivation of marijuana, both indoor and outdoor. And some of those could be kind of doubled up because you might have someone that was growing indoor and outdoor at the same time. And in 2017-18, we've only had 3 noted violations to date. Most of them are very minor in nature. We're not seeing a lot of major 10, 20, 30 plant type grows. So they're very small, but we have been very successful in getting people to abate those on their own volition.
So the proposed ordinance just beefs up the current toolbox for code enforcement or police if they should come across a violation. Any violation of the proposed Chapter 6.9 amendments would be deemed a nuisance, and the city could pursue civil, criminal, and/or administrative remedies. The penalties would be increased to up to $1,000 for plants found in excess of 6, and it would provide a process for abatement of plants found in excess of 6. And that would still be at the discretion of the enforcement agency that found the violations. So again, this chapter, the proposed ordinance amends the current Chapter 6.9 to bring it into compliance with state law, but also to sort of beef up the existing ordinance. It also amends the land use table to coincide with this ordinance amendment.
In closing, I would just add that this is an ordinance update that many cities around the state have been doing as one of the first steps in fully complying with the changes that have occurred over the last year. We again appreciate the successful collaboration between code, police, and our office that has resulted in active enforcement of this ordinance over the years. We continue to think that this ordinance and the reasonable regulations that it imposes is an important tool in protecting our residential housing stock from what are described as whole house grows in other communities where grows can take over a house completely and over time degrade the quality of the overall housing stock in a community. That was really one of the reasons why you imposed the ordinance that you did in the first place when we talked about it many years ago. So we appreciate the council's consideration and look forward to any comments you have on the ordinance.
Okay, any public comment on this?
No.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, is this a public hearing? Yes, this is. Let me open the public hearing. We don't have any questions for staff. I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Then I will move approval of ordinance 10.2017.
I have a motion by Budge, a second by McGarvey.
And just for clarification, we're introducing.
Right.
Introducing.
Introducing the first reading, and I assume there's no environmental review. Okay.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Gatewood?
Aye.
Councilmember Sander is absent. Councilmember McGarvey?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Budge?
Yes.
Mayor Terry?
Aye. Okay, moving on to item 12.2, European Parts Depot Major Design Review, project number DD 9694, located at 11560 Elks Circle.
Can she go ahead?
I'm waiting for, oh, there she goes. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm June Cowles, Senior Planner. So tonight, the European Parts Depot Major Design Review. The applicant is proposing a 17,560 square foot industrial warehouse building, and that's with parking, landscaping, and lighting. So their entitlement required is the Major Design Review. So the site location is on Elk Circle, and it's off of Sunrise Boulevard. It is within the Sunrise Boulevard South Planning area. To the north is actually the property owner that is looking at this site, or is also owned the property to the north, which is Auto Parts Depot. So he's looking to expand his business on this site. And to the west is the Folsom Canal South, and to the south is the Insurance Auto Auctions. Further on south of that Insurance Auto Auctions is Douglas Road. And to the east, across the street from Elk Circle, is undeveloped lot. So it is zoned heavy industrial. And here's a picture off of Elk Circle. There is existing infrastructure. You can see curb and gutter and sidewalk. The proposed site plan shows 2 driveways coming off of Elk Circle. So there is a circulation around the proposed building. The building is close to Elk Circle, so the parking is off to the side. The owner wants to use the building to store his auto parts from his existing business, which is to the north. But in the future, he's looking at leasing it to individual tenants. The architecture is a metal building with a stone masonry wainscot and entrance in the front with trellis. And of course, the building is pulled close to Elk Circle. To the side, it shows buildings and, doors with roll-up doors and windows, and then the rear elevation. Here's the landscape plan, and it is consistent with the zoning ordinance, with the shading requirements. And you can see all the landscaping in front of the building off of Elk Circle with a sidewalk connection to the public sidewalk. Environmental review, it is exempt from CEQA, and that's projects consistent with a community plan or general plan or zoning. And recommended motions and results, the staff recommends approval of the resolution approving the CEQA exemption and major design review. And with that, if you have any questions, then the applicant is also here.
So this is a public hearing, so I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Do we have any public comment cards?
No, we do not, Mayor.
Any questions for staff or the applicant?
I don't have questions. I just would comment it's an extremely plain brown building. Oh, sorry. Thanks. It was on. No, I don't have any questions. Just comment that it's an extremely plain brown building, and in the past, we haven't allowed metal buildings. And this building has very little to break up the plain brown monotony of it. It's got landscaping, but I would ask that the city arborist look at the raywood ash, which typically is subject to anthracnose, and see whether that and the pine tree are appropriate trees for our local climate.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for staff or the applicant? Okay, with that, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Okay, well, with reluctance, I will move approval of the application DD 9694, noting that the environmental document is adequate and appropriate, and that we approve Resolution 123, 2017, that allows for this construction of this building.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, so I have a motion by Budge, a second by Gatewood. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Gatewood?
Aye.
Councilmember Sander is absent. Councilmember McGarvey?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Budge,
Yes.
Mayor Terry.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we'll be moving on to regular calendar items. And our first item is 13.1, direction on Sundance subdivision pedestrian connection to Sunridge Plaza and Sunridge Boulevard.
Tonight, the meeting goal for Sundance, obtain direction from City Council on proceeding forward with the project as currently proposed, and that's without sidewalks. So the background of the Sundance subdivision is a 12.03 acre site within the Sudridge specific plan. The Sundance subdivision was approved in 2005, and that included 130 single family units, and that was 102 detached and 28 half-plex units. There was a design of Paseo connections, and it was a gated complex with private streets. And then in, just to give some background, then in 2009, there was a miscommunication from staff to the applicant. A substantial compliance to the map was done without proper authority. There was no formal action in 2009.
And I would just add for the record that action overall is one that would have had to have returned to council. It was not one that staff could have made without returning to you.
So looking at the Sundance 2006 subdivision, this was the approved map. In the green, it shows the green areas are the paseos or the pedestrian sidewalks that were included with that subdivision. So the current proposed subdivision shows front-loaded single-family units, and this is depicting that the green is not depicting any pedestrian connections. That's just the green space of the lots. So the items for consideration, there is no connectivity to the shopping center due to the lack of pedestrian connections within the subdivision. There's no sidewalks included. Parking is proposed to be on one side of the street. It is more of a dense proposal, 114 units. And this just shows the placement of what that would look like on where the aerial is of the Sunridge Plaza Shopping Center, an existing subdivision to the east. So the red dots are showing pedestrian conflicts that Public Works was looking at as far as coming off of, oh, I'm sorry. The red dots are showing possible pedestrian connections to where the existing sidewalk is off of Sunridge Plaza Center. The Folsom South Canal is to the west, and then there is the pedestrian, the preservation area to the west is up to the north between the Sunridge Plaza and the undeveloped property off of Douglas Road. As it stated, there's no pedestrian walking within the subdivision. The pedestrians would have to be walking in the street. And then there's vehicle and pedestrian conflicts. So one of the pedestrian conflicts is coming off of Sunrise. There will be sidewalks required along Sunrise Boulevard. And then if you're a pedestrian, you're coming off of the sidewalk, you would have to be forced into the street to walk within the subdivision. So cars coming around that corner at a pretty fast pace would be running into a pedestrian walking in the street. So that's one of the items that staff is concerned with. This is a picture of a subdivision north of Elk Grove that we were looking at with no sidewalks. It's more of a county rural, more large lot subdivision.
These are 1 acre.
And then this is a picture of a subdivision within the city of West Sacramento, more dense development, and there is a sidewalk on one side, and it looks like there's parking on both sides of the street. In summary, we're looking, should the project proceed forward without sidewalks, or should the sidewalks or some other form of pedestrian trail or paseo be incorporated into the project site? And the applicant is here if you have any questions.
Okay, do we have questions or for staff? Bob?
No, he started, so I
Okay.
have one after he does.
So what is the plan where the people are going to walk? Are they going to be, the children are going to play in the middle of the street?
So maybe it would be helpful to have the applicant address some of the questions?
Yes, but we were asking questions of staff.
That's fine.
first.
But I think a question of that sort might also be helpful to hear from the applicant on that question.
Okay.
And I agree, but we wanted to give everybody a
Yeah.
chance to.
Yeah, were there
ask
any
him.
other questions, though, for the staff based on what you just heard?
Well, I don't have any questions. I was looking at what the staff was looking at. When I looked at the item here on the agenda, and I looked at the maps, I was feeling the same way about sidewalks and with that, and that close to that shopping center, I think there's going to have to be some way to have a safe place for the pedestrians to walk. We have enough streets in the residential area of Rancho Cordova right now. We're still putting in sidewalks, and I don't think it would be a good idea to start without sidewalks, because it would be, I think you would find in the future that you wish you'd done it. So that's the way I feel right now, anyway.
So maybe it would be helpful to have the applicant explain some of their concepts around the use in front of the homes.
Hello, Mayor and members of the council. Bob Holmes here with Regis Homes. We've been doing high-density, single-family detached units since about 1998. And we've learned a lot of things over that period of time. And as we've done subdivision after subdivision after subdivision, we've learned what people like, what they don't like, what are important issues, and what are very intimate and dense single-family detached units. When we presented this project back in, I think it was 2004, 2005, that was done before we'd finished off a number of these in West Sacramento, Midtown, South Sacramento. We had one in Citrus Heights and one up in, is it Loomis? And we learned what really worked and what didn't work. What this didn't have that we needed to fix was it didn't have enough parking. Parking is an unbelievable difficulty for these very small, intimate projects in that people need parking. And if you take away their driveways, which the initial plan had, and you only have them park in their garages, we ended up having problems with people parking in big guest parking spaces, parking in places that were inappropriate, and fighting over where parking was going to be. So that was one thing we changed in the plan, because we went 2-car garages and 2 places in the driveway, so that people would have enough parking in their home. The other thing that we found out is that as much as you might want to put in community green spaces and community amenities, what was more important to people was, where do I put my dog? Where's a private place for me to have a barbecue? So we took those spaces that were community spaces and we put them back in the houses. And we put the parking that they had wanted into the units with the driveways where you could park your 2 cars, because we found that even though we had restrictions that said you have to park in your garage, People store stuff in their garages. They park on their driveways. If they don't have a driveway, then they park anywhere they can. And so we worked real hard to try to find solutions that would work in this particular site. Now, what we had to decide to do is we're working in a very constrained box. It's a difficult site. Look at all the different angles and spots in it. It's not a square. It doesn't easily divide up. So we decided to go on the side of parking again. And we said, okay, you can park on one side of every one of these streets. And these are all private streets. These are not public streets. There's no throughfare. There's no sneak streets. There's no place for anybody to go in this except in its own little subdivision. And then it connects also to the shopping center. And so we chose to give parking on one side, and people can walk, and we have projects where people walk on their muses or the streets without any particular issues. Now, I'm frankly very concerned about safety. I've been hit by a car and have a crushed vertebrae. And I know what it's like, and I'm concerned about it. But part of what you're doing here is creating an intimate community where people are looking and seeing what's going on. It's not a high-speed thoroughfare with sneak streets. So we chose to go with parking because we've seen lots of people fight over parking. And that's why you see the particular types of development that we have here. And frankly, what we wanted to do when this first came up, we had a complete set of improvement plans. We had a final map that was ready to record, and this came up that Bill Campbell didn't have the authority to do what he did. We'd already paid for all of this, and we were in the last entitlement item, and we would have gone ahead and built this. But we stopped because staff asked us to stop. And we went to a meeting, and I said, look, I want to fix this. I don't want to fight over it. But I'm in a box here. If I drop units, I don't meet the density requirements. Now I've got another problem. So our desire is to work with your staff, but there is a point at which we have to say, hey guys, we got here with some help from you. So what we made a decision to provide some overlook areas like staff had asked to do, and we asked them to please preserve as much of the work product that we'd done and we'd spent money on as they could. Now this issue of sidewalks has come up. Look, you're the policymakers. You're the policymakers. If you want us to do some sidewalks, we'll take out some parking. But I would suggest to you that it's not necessary.
So one council member had a question about where would recreation take place, probably for children or other. So unlike, I think some of our alley-loaded product that we're used to, that in these instances, you have yards, fenced-in yards, even though these are small,
correct,
almost zero lot lined homes.
Correct.
Instead of doing an alley-loaded product like we've seen in Capitol Village and other places like that, you're putting yard space in the back of these homes.
Yes, there's yard space in the back. That's part of that learning process that we went through when we did these, is to realize that people needed a place for the dog to go outside, for the children to have some stuff in the backyard. They need private space. We actually had lofts we built in West Sacramento where we created little wrought iron enclosures in front of the lofts just so people could have something that could say, well, that's mine there, and I can let my dog or my child out in it. Look, that was not a perfect solution. And we learned from that, and we learned, okay, we need to provide people with space.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that I just moved from one of the smaller lot homes in Anatolia, and, you know, streets that small, kids just played in the street. And, you know, for a community this small, if you don't live there, you don't have a reason to be there. So the number of cars in the community, I mean, you know, and I've met with the applicant separately, but to me, when I look at this, for the size of the units, I think my only concern is the speeds coming in from the entrance on Sunrise. I think that roundabout is slowing people down so much because nobody knows what to do with the way that it was designed.
Yeah, I
That
agree.
with the cut through and the left turn onto it in front of Walgreens, that people are, the speeds are not going to be that heavy there. But I think to Councilman Gatewood's question about where would children play and things like that, I think unlike some of our other developments, you do see that there's a yard space that is not with some of the other units. Or, you know, Veranda, I think that we just approved, is an example where they put the, you know, the lawn space and green space in the front of the homes, and it's still alley loaded. This is a different approach. Whether or not it's appropriate, but it's their attempt at accommodating that space behind a fence in the back of the house.
It seemed like Garrett had other questions besides that.
Yeah.
Are these houses considered affordable housing? Are they at that level?
They are, by their very nature, because of the density, you're going to end up with a less of a land cost and a smaller home.
But these are not below market rate.
These are not
affordable
below, yeah,
homes.
they're not below market rate, but by their very nature, they are less expensive than a standard subdivision house.
And Bob had questions.
Okay, Bob?
Well, that was my main concern, is that you have a 30-foot sidewalk, correct? I mean driveway.
Yeah, a 30-foot private street is what you've got.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're going to have parking on just one side.
On one
and
side, that's
something that people have to agree upon when they buy the paper or buy the home and everything.
That is part of the project itself. Part of the HOA that'll be there.
I'm still wondering about the sidewalk. You know the job better than I do, but I'm looking at what we've had in the past on some of the other areas. When you have a very narrow street and people are having to walk on that street, it just bothers me that people wouldn't have any place to go except walking on somebody's lawn because of it's 30-foot wide street, and then you have a car parked on there, and that cuts down their space even more for walking. Maybe there wouldn't be that much traffic, and maybe there wouldn't be any concern, maybe no one would be hit or anything, but approving that without having sidewalks, we can do that,
Well,
but I worry.
Yeah, one of the things, trying to find the right width is very important because you need to make everything in scale. You've got smaller houses with smaller lots, and we're trying to give a particular scale to the project. The other thing you're trying to do is you're trying to squeeze things just a little to make sure that people do drive cautiously and appropriately. We're more than willing to talk to you and staff about where might appropriate, you know, one side of the street sidewalk be. And I have Ken Topper here from Morton Patalo, you know, listening to this and listening to you and about what we can and we can't do. What I can't do is put, you know, sidewalk on every street. We might be able, and again, part of it has to do with just the very nature of the site itself. If you push it in one direction, you know, push the balloon out. And so trying to find the right spots, if we can find the right spots that gives safety that you think is appropriate. And again, this isn't the only time you're going to see this. You're going to see this again when we come back because they've asked us to do a new tentative map, and we went ahead and did that. So you will see it again What we're trying to do is get some direction about, look, 2 sides of sidewalk kills this project. Okay, can we put one side of sidewalk in a specific spot? We got 8 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound sack, and we're trying to make it all work and provide a different type of project and a different option to affordable housing than, okay, now everything's got to be attached.
I hadn't thought about one side sidewalk, just to give one side for the place to the car to park, but you would have one side for the sidewalk. It wouldn't have to be the extra wide sidewalks you have in downtown Sacramento or whatever. It would be a more narrow, 4 feet, 6 feet, something like that, on that one sidewalk on one side. That would be maybe on that entrance coming off of Sunrise Boulevard or something like that, and not in all of the smaller areas where you would have not too many people going back in there. But I don't know, I'm just trying to see some way for both ways to make that work.
And I really appreciate that. Like I told, Adam and Paul, I'm not here to fight, I'm here to fix. So I'm trying to fix so that it works properly and it provides the right community and what we think is the right kind of community that, honestly, you look at those 4 policies, this is the only project you're going to have that nobody has to cross Sunrise Boulevard and they can walk into, that shopping center. I mean, this is exactly what you want for infill. It's just how do we do it in such a way that we meet all of these requirements? And that's why, I can't do 2 sides with a sidewalk. I can do one. If I do the sidewalk, I've got to take the parking off that particular section. And we have parking somewhere else in the project, on one of the streets that doesn't have a sidewalk. And I think those things are available to us. And I know I've asked Ken to look at what we can and can't do to make that work. And we will continue to do that and work with that on with your staff. So I'm really looking at, okay, can we get a recommendation that says, work with the staff and find a couple of spaces or an area that works that gets as much of the project as possible with at least one side of sidewalk.
Well, I'm learning as we go. Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Why did you go away from the condos?
We didn't have condos. What we had was more of an alley-loaded Muse-type single-family detached. Okay, that's what we had back in the original entitlement. It wasn't condos.
There were some duplexes and triplexes, though?
There were some duplexes.
Duplexes.
Yeah, there were some duplexes. The fact is that when you're doing things of this nature, we're driven by a lot of things in business, as you guys know, and one of them is liability. And so we tried to detach, even our lofts, they're detached by 3 feet apiece because I can't get insurance for a condominium project unless I self-insure.
What he's saying about that, I would also say that it's really hard to get financing long-term for homeowners because a lot of these get into litigation, other things like that, and then they end up on FHA's list. And trying to finance shared walled communities like that is, since 2009, has become much more difficult in the U.S. So from the builder's insurance standpoint, too, there is that. But I would also say that finding lenders that still finance condos is a lot harder than it used to be.
Okay, so here's the deal. I appreciate what you're trying to do with a small, intimate community. There is no question that the pictures that you sent and the kinds of things that we talked about on the conference call that we had are laudable goals. It is probable, and there's a couple things I appreciate. I appreciate the variety of lot sizes. What's the size of the houses?
We're not the builder.
No, I know that. all right?
Yeah.
And that's another thing, you're planning to sell this to somebody else.
Correct.
But what size house can you accommodate on the variety of lot sizes? Because you've been talking about small houses.
Yes. I do not know the number. Ken, you got any idea? I could have that answer for you when we bring the tentative map.
Okay, so, so quite frankly, for 18 years at the county subdivision review committee, we worked very hard to transition people away from private streets because of the impact, the financial impact on homeowners in terms of utilities. Personally, I make no secret of the fact that I don't like gated communities. I do not believe gated communities belong in Rancho Cordova.
Can I clarify, is this gated?
No, it's not.
Okay, well, you had
It
proposed.
It was originally. It is not now.
All right, that's a good thing.
Okay.
It is illogical to not have good connections to the shopping center for all the reasons that you mentioned, because after all, this is the only thing on this side of the street could actually walk to Starbucks without taking their life in the hands, crossing Sunrise.
Correct.
And I'm going to give you the fact that the one star that is at the it's not a roundabout, but the cul-de-sac that comes in from the extension of Herodian is probably adequate in terms of people walking from their house on the north end of this around to get to the shopping center. Because there's a great elevation difference between the backside of Rayleigh's and this piece of property, so it probably isn't logical that you should go from that hammerhead to up some steps or some large switchback that's ADA compliant.
Exactly.
Okay, into the backside of Rayleigh's where you're not anywhere when you get there. Okay. But you used a very specific phrase. You said you're trying to put 8 pounds into a 5-pound sack, and that's the whole point. It just seems as though this is a project that cries for a lesser number of lots, maybe just a couple. Everyone is very sympathetic to the parking requirement. And from my perspective, this is the kind of thing that should be done with a special development permit that takes an individual look at everything you're proposing here, whether it is the variety of lot sizes or the single loaded streets, because after all, at Independence at Mather, there are single loaded streets. And as far as I know, it's working quite well. We had family that lived out there and nobody complained. I joined the group that's sorry that it's not condos or townhouses. When I look at Capitol Village, and those are technically not attached. They all have a space, and then there is a filler. There's kind of a little reveal line that goes in front of these, so you can't tell from the street side that there's a gap between the houses. It would give us an opportunity to look at, a special development permit would give us an opportunity to look at things like having sidewalk on one side of the street, or where do you put special guest parking like they've done at Cap Village. And quite frankly, even though Bs are Bs are built only about a dozen genuine townhomes in the south side of International, and they were gone immediately. Okay, so in terms of popularity, in terms of the ability to get into one of those, they were extremely popular. It just, from my perspective, and I appreciate the comments from AQMD and the comments from Walk Sacramento, but from my perspective, this is a project that should have a more focused look at what's being proposed as an individual project because it doesn't fit into all the little you can't check all the little boxes, and examine whatever the issues might be, and give you all the permission to build something like this, approve something like this, but acknowledge that it's got some deficiencies, lose a couple of lots, and then go forward with creating the kind of very intimate community that you're looking for.
And one of the parts of the box that I'm working in is that if I lose one more lot, I don't meet the density requirement.
But that's why, if we took a look at it like a special development permit, then we would say, okay, you don't meet you don't meet a density requirement, or okay, you only have sidewalks on one side of the street. That gives us an opportunity, but again, I would prefer public streets, but it gives us an opportunity to look at those issues and bless them so that they go away. Sometimes we issue permits for specific things, like a special review of parking that says, okay, we know you are deficient, that you don't have the exact number of parking spaces that are required by this particular shopping center or whatever, but we've looked at it and we've determined that there's enough parking, or there may even be excess parking based on the parking requirement, and it's okay because somebody looked at it and said, you're fine.
My concern with that, for commercial, I think it's a whole different ballgame. My concern, and I don't know how this fits into our arena numbers or our housing element or something else, but it seems like every time we've brought back something, and in this case, we have a developer that's trying to fit into the numbers that he's been given, but all we've been doing since I've been on council is lowering densities on every project that seems to come forward. So
Well, but those have been for completely different circumstances. We've had to go back and lower densities because of the court cases that were submitted against Rancho Cordova originally. And
that's not what I'm
maps-
talking about.
And maps that were approved back at the beginning have had to reduce densities because they've lost the developable area due to the need to grow preserves.
Since I've been on council, we haven't taken one of those votes. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking, excuse me, I'm talking about developments that were planned to be higher densities, smaller homes, that the market didn't dictate, that were bigger homes or whatever, and the market didn't dictate it, and that they wanted to zone it all single family and take out some of the urban feel and things like this. And we have a developer here that's saying, I'm trying to fit into the box that you're asking for. And this is already, what, 10, 12? Which one? 10?
It's
Yeah,
10.
It's 10.
Can I ask Ken to come up and at least discuss with you some of his thoughts on the sidewalk and how he could fit it in? Sure. And that way, at least before you make a decision on where we're going, you can at least hear about what he's thinking.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Ken?
Hi, Ken Topper from Morton Metallo. I was hoping I wasn't going to have to say anything.
Wrong project.
Wrong project. I'm glad that Bob jumped in there a little bit because we do have the issue of the density. One of the things we did in our last meeting with staff is that we needed to get to the 10 threshold. I don't think that's driven by, I think that's driven by the actual specific plan or one of the county documents. There's a bunch of stuff going on there. There is a or a special development permit with this application. The only thing in that at the moment is really the setbacks for the units to allow for what we're proposing here. So that mechanism, Vice Mayor Butch, is already in place and is part of the application. So what I did is I did take a look at what we could do. Again, remembering that we've done a lot of work, improvement plans, final maps and things we've done. So I tried to look in the context of what we could do to create connectivity on sidewalk on one side without losing too much of the parking. So there's the main roadway coming in, which you'll notice, I think it's A Drive in your plan. That's the main connection we got from Mayor Terry as being one of the key aspects of making a connection. I have a plan that we can look at What I would look to get is some direction from you as to what would work. The reduction of units, I'm not sure how that enables us to get to a solution for the parking and the sidewalks.
Yeah, I mean, my thought process behind it, I just think the roundabout over there by Walgreens already reduces your speed so much just to
Yes.
make the turn the way you're going to enter into there. That I don't see that as an issue, and I think to Linda's point, it's gonna be a pedestrian access, if anything, to the back of Rayleigh's over there, and you're gonna be coming into the loading bay, so you better be going slow, because there's gonna be big trucks behind you, or near
And
you.
really, and
Yeah.
this has been discussed, the connection to the back of Rayleigh's
Is a
makes
moot
no
point.
sense from a
Yeah.
grade differential, and it makes no sense because you're coming back to the loading
Right.
bays.
Yeah, there's
What
nothing
you-
back there. But the entrance on Sunrise, and again, this was my concern was, you can get a head of steam between that light at Herodian up to there. And while you do have another exit coming out of Walgreens in between there, it's seldom if ever used, and maybe it'll start getting used more. People aren't wanting to wait for the light. I'll admit that I've started doing that a little bit. But I live in a different spot, so I don't normally go south from there. But to me, it's making that right turn in. I mean, if you're going out to walk your dog and you're gonna go back up to Sunrise and walk towards Walgreens along Sunrise Boulevard, and you're using that sidewalk, and you're going from no sidewalk and transitioning on that corner, to me, that seems like the logical place that we might explore from there up to the point of the cul-de-sac, and I can show you.
One of the things.
So
that's
right
in-
about, well, hang on for a sec. So to me, if you're starting from here up to like this point, to where you're gonna make the turn into this first cul-de-sac and then the road that goes around, that if you had sidewalk from these units up to here, maybe that's a solution. And now you're saying already there's parking on one side of the street, so maybe here you don't have parking on the street, and then just have it start on your one side further down, and so trade some of the parking in front of these units for a sidewalk on this side? Because that, to me, it's this point right here is where you're gonna have high speeds, and you wouldn't want somebody standing on the outside of cars trying to walk up to that street.
Very much agree. And then the next part of that is that what we're trying to deal with, just trying to deal with the speed differential of people coming off of Sunrise. What I'm hearing is we're also concerned about the connectivity to the shopping center. And that's one of the things that Bob alluded to, which I think gets a little bit lost in the shuffle, is the project by its very nature of its density and where it's located, that you don't have to cross a major street. There's a major connection to a shopping center. If anybody's going to walk in a subdivision and walk to the shopping center, which I hear as a planner all the time and have heard for years, it's this project. So it kind of comes to, what do you feel comfortable in the sense of getting people to that? Obviously our argument is that people will walk in the street. Yes, is there some connection issues or some traffic issues in dealing with parking and traffic on the street? Maybe, and maybe that's the solution, that there's some parking or there's some sidewalk. Wherever we do, one of the things that's key, and I appreciate the comment about how tight it is, but again, that's driven by not just the desire to have the units that is there, it's driven by the requirements of staff. So we need to be at 10, and we literally had to go back and calculate where the actual net acreage is to get to 10. I think we're actually at 10.04 right now. So we're right at the threshold of that. So there's no room to remove units. So any place that I use to get sidewalk, I'm going to have to lose parking, or I'm going to have to switch and lose parking and come up with a combination. What I did look at has got some roads that have sidewalk on them. We have some roads that have sidewalk and parking, and then that main road, we lose parking altogether.
Yeah, I mean, and I seem to be, every meeting that I'm in talking about transportation is talking about less demand on parking in the future. That whether it's ride share or autonomous or whatever it is, that and I'm not, I don't know if they're right. I'm just saying that every conference or thing that I go to seems to, so if I was gonna sacrifice one for the other, I wouldn't sacrifice units, I would sacrifice some parking. And again, understanding what your concept has been for this, and understanding similar projects that are like this, that are in Midtown by light rail and other things like that, that I'm less concerned about, All right, guys, I understand the concept around making this look urban and frankly, modern, to where I'm less concerned about the entrance at the Walgreens in the shopping center. I think I'm not nearly as concerned as I would be about people that are coming down here to make a right turn into this community instead of going through the roundabout. But again, if you're coming south on Sunrise Boulevard, the likelihood that you're going to take the time to go past Walgreens and turn right instead of turning right and going in here, you're really only talking about the ones on the south. I mean, if you live right here, you're going to pull in there. If you're anywhere near here, you're going to pull in here, because why would you wait for the light? There's no reason to come back around this way. So really, up to about there is about all of the units, and maybe if you're over here, but anything else, this is the easier one to get into. So I'm not nearly as concerned about a sidewalk transition there, but I mean, we could put something, but I don't see a reason besides maybe losing a couple of parking spaces, not a whole unit or two.
And I think we're in agreement with that. I think that Bob's last comment, we need to come out of here. What we'd like to come out of here with is some direction for staff. And ultimately, it sounds like we need to find some level of a compromise. And I don't know if it's that. I have a feeling that other council members believe that's not enough. We would obviously argue that it is, because we're proposing it without sidewalks to begin with, and that we think the pedestrian-friendly aspect of it is the location, and people will walk in the street. But there are some abilities to make some adjustments. Just know that to do that, we're going to lose parking. And we believe that there's some scenarios where we can do that. We can lose some parking and find that right balance. It's interesting, you talk about parking and talk about issues of density. Veranda, which you just mentioned, I did that project as well. So we've got this balance between projects that don't have parking, don't have private spaces. What they're trying to do here is provide the private spaces and provide the parking.
And a project like Veranda isn't for everybody. So
It isn't.
I know I have a family member that would like to buy in the city. That price range for Veranda or some of the other ones are about where they are. But she has pets and she wants some sort of yard to deal with it. So those aren't an option for her. Although Veranda might be an interesting, if she gets one of the ones at the end to have more space.
The issue with, one of the issues with Sunrise, though, that is the point at which Sunrise narrows from 3 lanes to 2 lanes. It starts at Herodian, and by the time it gets to the parcel line between Walgreens and this piece of property, then it's down at 2 lanes. And unfortunately, you're also going uphill, and people are increasing their speeds at that point. So ultimately, it's more likely that people are going to use the extension of Herodian to get in than they will come down to this particular driveway.
Unless you live at that corner. Can I ask a quick question, though? Because, Linda, you brought up a good point that, Albert, I don't know if you can answer this for us. Would this require the improvement of the additional lane past this development or to this development? We wouldn't get the 3rd lane for this? I mean, I'm assuming they're putting in, you're going to be putting in sidewalk on Sunrise Boulevard. We're not going to rip it up in 2 years, right? There's going to be sidewalk in front of this development.
Good evening, Mayor Terry and council members. Albert Stricker with the Public Works Department. And it's been a little while since I've looked at the frontage improvements for this project. But can you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this does include frontage improvements along Sunrise Boulevard?
Yes, along
To the southern edge.
Boulevard, there is, I guess the prior plan had a meandering walk. One of the things that we did hear from staff early
Please don't
on
have any of those
is no
ever again.
meandering walk.
Thank you.
You'll be glad to know that I actually had to go in, because it's actually shown in some of the base files almost like it's existing, and I had to tell my cat, get it
Please
off.
don't
We're
ever
not
do
gonna
that again. Thank
So
you.
yes, there will be a separated sidewalk in that corridor.
So Mayor Terry.
So if we're putting
Okay,
in
but-
sidewalk, we're going to add the 3rd lane to the end of it, right?
That's correct,
Okay,
Mayor Terry.
okay, I just want to make sure.
Okay, so the 3rd lane,
Would
the
go to the
full
southern
3rd
edge.
lane then would be extended down to the south property line here.
And we're not going to move the sidewalk in 10 years when we get the rest of the
That's
money. Yeah. Okay.
And right in here
Thank you for bringing that up.
is where it would kind of blend. You have a way to get into this lane rather than having it to the corner like that. mean, you have to have.
You would
the
squeeze it back down to
road
two past it,
blend,
right?
You know, have a curve to get into it, gradually, rather than having just a 90-degree turn to get into the Sunrise Boulevard. That would be, but I'm looking at this area right here. I think, Donald, you're right on that, but right in here, I think is the only place you really need to have that
Yeah, I would agree.
sidewalk, that one side, but it gives people a chance to, when a lot of the people are coming off of Sunrise, it gives the pedestrians a way to get out of their way.
Yeah.
That one side sidewalk.
And actually, one of the early comments from June Fowles at a very early meeting was to find some space in that entry to add some sidewalk, both for connective, to be able to make the connection, but also visually. So in fact, that hammerhead or that in driveway that's there against Sunrise is slightly longer than the standard that we would typically go with. The intent was to apply for a modified length to that to allow for that connection. So we already have the space for the connection there.
Are those examples, or do you need the doc?
Well,
the doc rating?
one of the doctrines we always follow is that we talk to staff before we show things at a city council meeting. And ever since we had conversations with a couple of you last week, we've continued to work on this to try to find a compromise. And we just got this figured out like last Friday.
Just by chance.
And we, well, no, you talk to
You're confusing us
people.
though when you got north-south turned east-west, but I got it. You're okay, you're fine.
Okay, sorry about that. But that's why I showed it to Paul before we brought it up here, is because they'd never seen it before, and I don't do that. So, we showed it to him, and I said, can I show it to you guys? And Ken's been working really hard to try to find a compromise that gets there.
So my comment to what you're showing here.
Yeah.
Is fine. I don't necessarily think we need as much of that, but even if you put it at the entries that you're showing here at the roundabout, I think that's fine. Oops. Over here.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if you need all that, but here I would trade, you're saying a sidewalk over here that's 4.5 feet. I'd put it on this side and probably down to there at least. Yeah, I guess you could go all the way down to there, but not on this side. Because the point is the people that are gonna walk up here and turn left and go over to Walgreens, pretty much the ones that live this close, they don't want to walk all the way back and go up this way, although that still would probably be a preferred, living as close as I do to Sunrise Boulevard, I don't want to walk anywhere on those sidewalks anyways, especially because they're meandering. But if you were to put it anywhere, you'd put it here where it's kind of the blind turn. Over here, you can see what's coming. It's coming around this turn as a car's coming in. That's the sidewalk that you need, not down here.
Yeah, you should put it on the internal sidewalk.
Yeah.
Where you've got your on-street parking here by the open space, though, typically that would be a location where we would, and you've got sidewalk in there, but that would, because it's adjacent to open space, we would typically require a wider sidewalk in there and a square curb as opposed to a roll curb. So would you put that into this special development permit?
Yeah, I would agree. I think the section that's in the north area here and here, make that straight curb. I mean, that's the whole point of it, right? I mean, and it's gonna be straight curb out here anyways. So you wanna match that as it comes in, but.
No.
Which side are you talking about?
No.
Down here?
I'm out.
Oh, here.
That.
You want straight curb down there?
So,
Is that what you-
No, if you, the pure application of our improvement standards would require a larger sidewalk and a straight curb adjacent to that open space. That's why I asked Albert if they would make that a part of the special development permit in order to have a more narrow sidewalk there.
Is that sound wall that's gonna be there?
It's not a sound wall.
It's not sound.
That's open to the creek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's an open
fine with
connection. And to be honest with you, the pink, blue here is parking, and it's placed in pretty much what I did, because we have parking on one side of the street. I kind of ran through, because there's not a lot of parking with the units and the driveways. It's not as much as you would think on the street. They do exist. I literally kind of went through the site, defined how many parking spaces would be one side versus the other.
Okay.
And I picked the sides to put parking. That's why on the north end of that road, that upper end road, that's where the parking is. So I placed the parking there because I get more spaces. Because again, I'm trying to find a way to get the sidewalk, to get the connectivity, and lose as few spaces as
So let me ask
possible.
the magic question that any developer knows is coming now that you put a map in front of us. You can live with this. Is that what you're saying?
We want to try.
Because you put it in front of me now,
Yeah,
so.
well, yeah, I wouldn't put something in front of
Okay,
you without
so-
saying, yes, we
so-
would do that.
okay, so
We
then-
want to try one other iteration that we think's worth looking at.
Okay, because the suggestion I would give to you now that you've put this in front of us, I think right.
No, I mean,
Accommodate-
that's just a part of the discussion.
No,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah.
So one is, I think to Linda's comment, the straight curb, in the, oh, you're messing me up because it turns so on the western edge in the middle. And then flip this sidewalk, maybe even till
Yeah, give me a
here.
point.
I mean, if you want, I mean, ideally, it's this point, and if you want to run it to here, fine. But make this straight curb to there instead of on this side of the street. If you can do something along those lines, I think we're in business. That's for me. I don't know if anyone else. This is actually more sidewalk than I thought you were going to offer up. So in looking at it, but you did. So now we're here.
Look, I mean,
no,
look,
no,
we're
no.
trying to find, look,
And
I said I
appreciate
wanted to
it.
fix the problem.
And I appreciate
okay?
it. So my comment would be is if you could accommodate the sidewalk here down to here, I think you've allayed any concern I had. I don't know about the rest of council, but I'd be comfortable with that.
Did you lose any houses with this design?
You will see, design review from the company that actually purchases the map.
Right, but
We're not-
under this mapping, did you lose any?
No, we did not
Housing
lose
units.
any. Yeah.
Okay.
We did not lose any. Sorry about that.
We can get sidewalks. All right.
Well, we can get some sidewalks based on this, but we're losing parking. And again, that's the balance that we're trying to find. The developer wants the parking. I kind of looked at this, how could we do this to get some level of sidewalks? And obviously, one of the things, and there is another idea out there that we were just talking about that might actually work even better. I didn't propose it because I didn't know if it was something that they might be in tune with. But I looked at this in the context of how can we get everybody that lives in the neighborhood fairly close to a sidewalk, so if their kid was going to go to the shopping center, they would feel comfortable that they could walk a short distance. And I think it's like 4 or 5 homes is the farthest you'd have to walk to get to a sidewalk in this to get to the shopping center. That was,
The short answer, Garrett, is yes.
Yeah, I think
You want to go ahead and give him a pin? Go ahead and do the idea that you had, and we'll go ahead and prove it because Donald has to see it. Go and sketch it on there right now.
No. I think where we are, I think we could give direction to staff. Do we need we don't need a motion for this, right? So I'm going to kind of state something here, and if anybody wants to disagree with me, but to me, I think if you take the comments that we were making around flipping that sidewalk on the southern end, the southern end, and accommodate Linda's request around straight curb. And again, I think some of the over by the roundabout, some of the other things, maybe we do rolled curb, obviously match whatever's in that roundabout already to a certain extent. But I think with that, I think I'm comfortable with staff moving forward with it.
could I ask one question?
Sure.
When Vice Mayor Budge mentioned the straight curb, the vertical curb, I understood that. In my mind, it was probably on the, adjacent to the open space, because you had parking there. Are you saying that you would want, because, I mean, the intent here would be rolled curb. I think doing vertical curb, which typically does make that traveled way a little bit safer or feel that way. One of the issues we have here are these are fairly narrow lots. They're 40 feet wide. You're going to have a driveway. So when you do a vertical curb, you're getting into that up and down movement with driveways. It gets much more difficult to plan around. I'm curious what the intent is of the vertical curb next to a sidewalk. Most streets are rolled curb with sidewalk. I think that still gets you what you wanted.
Well, with her absence, I don't know if she just stepped
Yeah,
into the other room. Maybe her thought process was, she was saying if it was adjacent to the preserve,
Well,
There you go.
I think
Linda,
it
would
was
you like to answer
adjacent to
that?
the preserve and adjacent to parking, which makes complete sense because then you keep the cars from moving up on that sidewalk while people are walking on it versus a road.
Linda, did you want to? She was asking, he was asking about your request or pointing out that the standard says that we have straight curb across from the preserve.
That's what
no.
just what our improvement plans
Not-
say.
Not
Our
that.
But it-
Standards say.
I think that's fine because we don't have any units fronting there. We don't have driveways. I was thinking more in terms of the main road that came in, and I thought I heard you say do sidewalk on the north side, which we can absolutely flip it to the other side, and do straight curb there.
Yeah, that was my suggestion.
I question the value of getting a straight curb adjacent to the sidewalk, which does provide a little bit more protection for that sidewalk. But in a tight subdivision like this with all the driveways and the curb cuts that you're gonna have to do up and down, it starts to look, my experience is kind of weird. Because you're basically, you gotta drop down to get a driveway and then drop back up, and you're gonna be doing that every 20 feet
So the
or so.
pictures I saw, and I'm sorry, I completely ran out of time to go see either the one at 26th and I, or refresh my memory about the one in West Sac, which I really haven't seen in like 15 years. But the pictures I saw didn't have any curbs at all. They just basically the parking apron just transitioned out into the road, and you had the garbage can sitting out in the road, which begs the question of where do you put your garbage can, and all that stuff.
In my mind, when I look at the sidewalk here, I would be doing a narrow sidewalk, which I believe somebody mentioned, 4.5 feet. This particular program was thinking about a 4.5 foot walk, but it would be more of a traditional rolled curb sidewalk adjacent attached, and then driveways coming down. Just quite frankly, like a traditional subdivision would be, like my subdivision is.
So, and maybe there's a
Except that
compromise.
it would be on one side of the street.
Correct, it would just be on one
That's
side.
the only difference.
so
Like
maybe-
Independence.
Maybe the compromise here is, so you have the 3 units at the southern edge of the north side of the street. So maybe there, I mean, again, we're talking those 3 units, and then you have a long, I mean, this is not a home, right? This
Correct.
is just open space?
That's common
So
area.
here, I mean, if this was straight curb, because again, my concern was up to about this point, not this point, but you've put it on the map. So maybe here, up to here is straight curb, this is rolled curb.
I
What's
think
council
that
think
would
of
make
that?
more sense.
How about if we, to use your phrase, how about if we get out of the weeds and we have sort of beat this horse to death and we've given them a lot of ideas and suggestions, and they've heard several messages quite clearly. Staff's heard several messages quite clearly, and it has to come back. So how about if they work with staff to bring back a compilation of all the things that we've talked about tonight?
Does staff feel like they have enough direction?
Yes.
You're good? Okay. Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you for that idea of putting some of those sidewalks in, because that did concern me about, I know some of the very narrow ones we have right now. We have people walking down the street, pushing the stroller and all that sort of thing, and you have people come barreling down the road. And even in a very narrow, small neighborhood, everything like that, people still unfortunately do that. You've been hit by somebody, so. Yeah, so that was my concern. And seeing some of this opportunity for the sidewalk and just one side, that's fine. It just gives people a safer way to walk.
Well,
So-
and I appreciate your willingness to work with us on this to find a solution that works for everybody.
Yeah, thank you. And the only other thing I wanted to point out, I know that the city attorney did point out that the approvals on the prior maps were maybe done incorrectly to our standards or our approval authorities. But I do want to point out that while that may be your problem in some ways, that is still our fault for making those kinds of mistakes. And that shouldn't be left to at the developer's feet that we made a mistake and approved something that we shouldn't have, regardless of who it is or how it happened. And so that's not how we normally conduct our business.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So with that, we'll move on to item 13.2, direction on 116650 Douglas Road zoning and future development.
So this project requests the property owner is requesting direction on appropriate zoning and future development, and this is for 11650 Douglas Road, specifically a change from industrial to multifamily. In the same general area, this is just north of Sundance subdivision off of Douglas Road. And this is just a closer look at that site. Again, right across from Sundance and where the Preservation Creek is at. This is a view from Douglas Road, so there is just a little bit of a curve, but this right here is a 2-lane road. It is currently zoned M1, which is light industrial. This site is not within the Sunridge specific plan because it did not have a development agreements in place at the time of the court ruling. So the specific plan was approved by Sac County and did not apply unless the development agreement was in place. So that reverted back to the light industrial zoning prior to Sunridge specific plan. And so the property owner is requesting direction on the appropriate zoning and future development for this site. And, oh, sorry, that was the summary. But to the north, looking at the site really quick, is the CRPD site, and that's leased by the outdoor gun range. And so we had talked to the property owner's representative about that being an issue with multifamily zoning. And then a noise study would have to be conducted. Within their staff report is the current times of the gun range and what gun range, outdoor gun range that they provide, pistol and some shotgun outdoor ranges. And also in the future, Douglas Road, that will be a 6-lane road in front of this property. But currently it's at a 2-lane. In talking with Public Works, they would probably get a full access driveway as far to the west as possible on this site, and maybe a right in, right out closer to the intersection of Douglas and Sunrise Boulevard.
So are you saying a signal at the western edge? Or just a left turn onto Douglas?
Just a full access off of Douglas Road, so a left turn onto Douglas Road.
Douglas Road,
Yeah,
okay.
as far as ways from the intersection as possible.
Well, currently you can come out of Rayleigh's and turn into this funny shaped little turn pocket and go left.
Yeah, but the road at Douglas by the western edge of that is really a 1-lane each way. It widens considerably up by Rayleigh's.
Right, but you're talking about 6 lanes.
And this site,
Eventually,
site, we're just looking at, would it have a full access driveway in the future?
In the future, okay.
And it is possible.
Okay.
Are we talking about then going from 2 lanes to 6 lanes? I know in some of them we've talked about going from 2 lanes and making it 4, and then in the future, as need is seen, you could make it 6. But is this going to go from 2 lanes to 6 lanes? Is that the?
Don't do it immediately. We'll have people going 100 miles an hour.
This project would be phased over time as needed. There's a high likelihood that it would be phased from the current 2 to 4, and then to 6 ultimately.
Okay, that's kind of what I was
The
wondering.
level of access would need to be evaluated as well. Typically for 6-lane roads, we wouldn't recommend full access on a 6-lane road. And so we could evaluate potentially a left in. A left out would be more challenging, to be sure.
Okay, but so also in terms of phasing, you would probably build out the south side of Douglas and leave the north side the way it is at 1 lane because there's nobody over there to build it. So what's really important is the amount of traffic that we have on Douglas and on Zinfandel. And so it's going to be really important that these people be able to get out of here and go west on Douglas without having to go down to the intersection and make a U-turn.
Yeah, well, and keep in mind with the other development we were just talking about and this one, these are both Folsom Cordova. So the schools that they're going to be, the elementary schools that they're attending, you've got to go left here to get up to Zinfandel to go over to Stone Ridge. So having a left out of this development is kind of critical. Because I mean,
A safe left.
a safe left in some way. But yeah, to expect everyone that lives there to go up and make a U-turn at sunrise to go to school or something. Because I mean, if this is multifamily, this is mostly going to be people with children or working professionals that are going to probably be working in the business park.
And the interesting thing about it, this is totally off-site, but at the lift station that's being constructed and at the open space where Morrison Creek crosses under Douglas, there needs to be sidewalk pretty badly because, we've heard from people who are already asking for how do we get down to the bike trail at the canal? So it's really important that sharing the cost or even constructing the south side sidewalks and bike lanes or something, that we figure out how to do that. So personally, I think this is a perfectly fine use for this piece of property, if anybody cares.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we've talked about trading out some other multifamily in town, and I don't like that idea. So adding some, I think sounds great. It starts to activate more of that corner. So yeah, I'd be happy to give the flexibility to the owner if they so need it. Are there any questions for the applicant or staff? Sure, come on, Jim.
Thank you, Mayor Terry, members of the council. Jim Gillum, representing the owner. Wanted to just clarify a couple of points. One, we're not asking for a multifamily zoning designation. What we would like to see here, consistent with the general plan designation, a general commercial zoning that is permissive of multifamily, so that it gives the owner the flexibility to attract the best possible use for the site. I do greatly appreciate the dialogue regarding access, as it is critical on such a large roadway to have a safe and logical access point. So we did go out and listen for the gun range noise and are confident that with a noise study and appropriate building methods that we could mitigate any potential noise concerns there. Appreciate your willingness.
It's too bad we can't get rid of that issue, but unfortunately the guys upstairs decided a different direction. Maybe next time.
Fair enough. As for any other issues, I think we're appreciative of your consideration of this item tonight.
Thanks, Jim. Again, any questions for the applicant? Okay. You got what you need? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, our last item for regular calendar items is item 13.3. Resolution approving 1/21/2017, approving the fiscal year SB1 project list and amend the fiscal year 2017-19 budget to include the SB1 project list related to road maintenance funding.
Good evening, Mayor Terry and council members. Albert Stricker with the Public Works Department. And this evening, we're going to present to you the current status and opportunities available to the city through Senate Bill 1 and what is that Senate bill, and then also request City Council's consideration of our recommendation to amend the budget to include a list including the proposed projects that were previously approved through the 5-year capital improvement plan. And now I'd present Megan Siren, Management Analyst with the Public Works Department, to provide additional details.
So just a brief history of the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017, also known as SB1. It was approved by the legislature on April 6th, and Governor Brown signed it on April 28th. It does create a stable and ongoing increase in state transportation funding to address all our future road maintenance needs. It increases fuel taxes and vehicle license fees. They are phased in from starting in November 2017 through 2020. They are expected to generate $5 billion per year at full implementation. The main program we're talking about tonight is the Local Streets and Roads Program, which is a new program. We estimate in fiscal year 17-18 we'll receive about $408,000, and in fiscal year 18-19 about $1.2 million. At full implementation, we expect to receive $1.5 million. The eligible projects do include all those listed. Road maintenance and rehab is our primary focus. So Senate Bill 1 also augments some existing transportation programs that exist. One is the Active Transportation Program, which is for bicycle and pedestrian projects. It's adding an additional $100 million per year. These are competitive programs, so we will continue to compete on the state and regional level. The State Transportation Improvement Program, also known as the STIP, this funding source just helps stabilize it, and we do compete through SAGHOG's regional call for projects on this. The Transportation Planning Grants, it's also competitive and adds $25 million per year. Programs that we're not involved in, but they do exist. So the Public Transit Account is adding over $750 million per year. The Freeway Service Patrol is adding an additional $25 million per year, and Caltrans is getting $1.98 billion per year for their State Highway Operation and Protection Program.
Would that include the work that needs to be done on Highway 50? Because there's an awful lot of work that, I mean, just like last year, you had just part of Highway 50 went down the hills, you know, close to the waterfall there. It's just, you know, they're still working on it.
At Bright of Isle, yeah.
Yeah, so this is Caltrans' pot of money from SB1, so they get to prioritize and with Governor Brown approve what gets funded. But they already have implemented some programs under this $1.98 billion.
Luckily, we didn't have to rely on Tom McClintock to make that a priority. Just saying.
So there are some new transportation programs that were created under the bill. One is the Local Partnership Program, which is available to cities and counties with voter-approved transportation tax measures. So Sacramento Transportation Authority will be involved in ranking programs and sending them to the California Transportation Commission. So that program is getting $200 million per year. We are eligible for this pot of money. The Solutions for Congested Corridors program is eligible for regional agencies and state that will improve traffic flow and mobility along the state's most congested routes. They're getting $250 million per year. The Trade Corridor Enhancement Account is getting $300 million per year, and it's available for local agencies in the state who can compete for projects that improve infrastructure on federally designated trade corridors of national and regional significance. So the Local Streets and Roads program is the one I already spoke briefly about. It's getting $1.5 billion per year for the cities and counties. So that's the program. This is just eligibility requirements of that specific program. So we must have our project list adopted in our budget. They are currently in our budget, but not all the required elements are in it. So that's why we're here tonight. So in 2017-18, our project is the 2017 Street Rehabilitation Project, which is in Cordova Meadows. And in 18-19, it's the Sunrise Rehabilitation Project Phase 1. This program also requires us to annually tell California Transportation Commission how we're spending the dollars. And there is a maintenance of effort. So the cities and counties must annually spend no less than the average of their discretionary expenditures during those 3 fiscal years. And currently our MOU sits at $1.2 million. So this fiscal year we have $1.5 million budgeted, so we're above that mark. So tonight, we're asking you to adopt Resolution Number 121, 2017, amending the 2017-19 adopted budget and capital improvement plan to include the Senate Bill 1 project list, to include the project useful life and project schedule. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff?
No, I think it's just a state, Senate Bill 1. It's not like and we have some people who are very unhappy about having the gas tax going up 12 cents November the 1st, and about the fees on their registering your vehicle and all that sort of thing. But since that was done by the state, the money is going to be there unless a proposition votes it out. We'll see about that. But anyway, I think this is a good use of the money that is there right now. So I'm making a motion to approve this as it's written.
Okay, I have a motion by McGarvey. Any other discussion before we take a second?
Does this account in the fact that we're going to get the rest of the money out for the board or council I sit on that we talked about?
You talk about STA funding?
Yeah.
And Measure U?
Is that all in there too?
Not Measure U, I'm sorry, Measure A, right?
So that's the local partnership program that does allow us to be eligible to compete for that program. So there is formulaic money that will come from the STA as well as the competitive grant process.
And I believe you had also, we had chatted some time ago about the Measure A dollars that are on Folsom Boulevard and Sunrise.
Yes.
These dollars are in addition to that funding.
Okay.
And all of that will be expended within the term limits.
So are we going to expend that in the next year? Are you thinking for the SDA dollars?
Folsom 5 won't be expended probably until the end of 2019. And Sunrise is still pending. So it's in the 5-year plan to spend it, in our 5-year CIP to fully expend it.
And we are familiar with, we've looked at the limits on those dollars.
Okay.
And they will be allocated and spent prior to losing any of those dollars.
Okay. Just as long as we know that if it's not there, if we don't spend it by 2019, it's not there. I don't care what's on the 5-year plan. Yeah. Okay.
It's all programmed to be spent.
I'm kind of interested in just thinking about when we have been working on our budget over the years we've been in a city, we've been operating in the black. And then when we had the citizens, they approved the half-cent sales tax, then we're able to do more in addition to what our budget already said. And now we have this, and that'll be going on top of our regular budget and the half-cent sales tax, and now you'll have this. So I think it's something that'll possibly help speed up even more some of the improvements we're doing on some of the roads that need it here in Rancho Cordova.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not at a scale that Measure B would have addressed a lot of the other things that we were talking about regionally, but luckily there's some other ways to address that maybe.
I will second the motion.
So a motion by McGarvey, a second by Budge. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Gatewood?
Aye.
Councilmember Sander is absent. Councilmember McGarvey?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Budge?
Yes.
Mayor Terry?
Aye, motion carries. That concludes our regular agenda items. Do we have any council requests for future agenda items? Seeing none, we will stand adjourned.